In the NFL, there is one measuring stick that ultimately separates the good coaches from the great ones. And that is the Super Bowl. Win one, and you're a legend. Your bust goes into Canton. Your name gets mentioned with the all-time greats. Here's the thing. Winning a Super Bowl does not always mean you're the best coach in the building. And not winning one does not mean that you are not elite. So today, we're going to separate the deserving from the lucky. 5 coaches who never won at all, but absolutely should have, and 5 coaches who got their ring, but maybe didn't deserve it. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Best without a ring, Marty Schottenheimer, head coach. 200 regular season wins, the most for any coach in NFL history who never won a championship. And somehow, some way, he's not in the Hall of Fame, which of course makes him the only eligible coach with 200 plus wins who's not in Canton. Schottenheimer coached for 21 seasons across Cleveland, Kansas City, Washington, and San Diego. And look, he knew how to win, at least in the regular season. His teams won 8 division titles and made 13 playoff appearances. Marty Ball, they called it. Conservative, run-heavy, grinded-out football. But January, well, that's where everything fell apart. 5-13 in the playoffs, 3 AFC championship appearances, 3 losses, and 2 of those losses, man, 2 of those losses were absolutely gut-wrenching. You know the names. The Drive. 1986 AFC Championship. Elway goes 98 yards with 37 seconds left to tie the game. Cleveland was right there. Then the very next year, Ernest Biner fumbles at the 3-yard line in the championship game with a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And it all just slipped away. And lest we forget, 2006, Schottenheimer goes 14-2 with the Chargers, best record in all football, only to lose in the playoffs to the Patriots, and then gets fired. 14-2, and they show him the door. First with the ring, Barry Switzer, head coach, Dallas Cowboys. All right, let's flip the script entirely here. If you want the perfect example of right place, right time, well, look no further. Barry Switzer won Super Bowl 30 with the Dallas Cowboys in 1995. And you know, on paper, that looks wonderful. But let's talk about what actually happened here. Jerry Jones fires Jimmy Johnson. You know, the guy who had just won back-to-back Super Bowls with Dallas. The guy who built that roster, despite what Jerry wants you to think. The guy who drafted and developed Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. Who does Jerry bring in? Well, his old college buddy, Barry Switzer. Switzer walked into one of the most loaded rosters in NFL history. The triplets were in their primes. The dynasty was already rolling. All Switzer had to do was just not screw it up. And look, even Jerry Jones admitted it. He said any coach could have won with that roster. Those are his words, not mine. So Switzer wins the Super Bowl in his second season. Great. What happens next? Well, 1996, 10-6. Lose in the divisional round. 1997, 6-10. First losing season for the Cowboys in a decade. Switzer resigns. Never coaches in the NFL ever again. 4 seasons, 1 championship that literally anyone could have won, and a 500 coach wearing a ring that he simply inherited. Best without a ring, Dan Reeves, head coach. 4 Super Bowl appearances, 4 losses. 3 trips with the Broncos in the late 80s, 1 more with the Falcons in 1998. And here's the brutal part. These were not close games. These were not last-second field goals or fluky plays. Reeves got blown out. In those 4 Super Bowls combined, his teams were outscored 163-79. Super Bowl 24 against the 49ers. 55-10. That, by the way, is still the worst loss in Super Bowl history. The trend was so bizarre because the man could clearly coach, as evidenced by his 2-time Coach of the Year honors and the fact that he led 3 different franchises to the playoffs. But that 4th Super Bowl loss, that one had to sting in a whole different way. Reeves brings his Falcons to the big game, and who's waiting for him? The Denver Broncos. I mean, losing the Super Bowl is bad enough. Losing it to the franchise that you helped make great? Ooh, that's just cruel. First with the ring, Brian Billick, head coach, Baltimore Ravens. Oh, this one is rich. Brian Billick was hired by the Ravens as an offensive genius. His Minnesota Vikings offense had just set the NFL scoring record in 1998. This guy was supposed to bring that firepower to Baltimore. So what happened? Billick won Super Bowl 35, but with one of the worst offenses in NFL history. You see, the 2000 Ravens went 5 games without scoring a single touchdown. Their entire game plan was just hand it to Jamal Lewis and let Ray Lewis and the defense handle the rest. Luckily, that defense was actually incredible. They set the record for fewest points allowed in a 16-game season, 165. That unit was historic. But here's the thing, Billick had nothing to do with that defense. He was an offensive coach who won with defense. After that championship, Billick continued to cycle through quarterbacks and, well, he never developed a franchise guy. Ultimately, he got fired after a 5-11 season in 2007. The offensive genius who won it all with defense and then never figured out offense ever again. Yeah, go figure. Best without a ring, Bud Grant, head coach, Minnesota Vikings. Bud Grant was another coach with a dubious 0-4 mark in Super Bowls. But here's the difference. You see, Grant had some of the worst luck in terms of opponents. He was just losing to very good teams. He was losing to dynasties here. Super Bowl 4 against the Chiefs, Super Bowl against the near-perfect Dolphins, Super Bowl 9 against those dominant Steelers, and finally, Super Bowl 11 against the Raiders. Teams that you would have to play an absolutely perfect game in order to beat. Those were juggernauts. It's a real shame that he never got over the hump, too. Grant was a winner at every other level. He even won 4 Grey Cup championships with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers up in Canada. But, alas, no Super Bowl ring. The Vikings patriarch defined that franchise for nearly 2 whole decades, and the one thing that everyone remembers is 0-4 in the big game. Worst with a ring, Don McCafferty, head coach, Baltimore Colts. Don McCafferty won Super Bowl 5 in his very first season as a head coach. Impressive, right? Well, maybe at a glance, but let's talk about that Super Bowl. Super Bowl 5 is known as the Blunder Bowl. 11 combined turnovers between the two teams. The Colts alone committed 7 turnovers, and they still won 16-13 on a last-second field goal. It was the sloppiest Super Bowl ever played, and McCafferty's team was the sloppier one. They just happened to win anyway. Also worth noting, McCafferty inherited the Colts roster from Don Shula. You know, the winningest coach in NFL history. Shula left from Miami, handed McCafferty a Super Bowl caliber team, and McCafferty won with it in his first year. The very next season, well, lost the AFC Championship 21-0 to Don Shula's Dolphins. The guy who built the roster came back and shut him out. Then in 1972, McCafferty was fired 5 games into the season for refusing to bench Johnny Unitas. All was said and done, he coached just 4 years in the NFL. Best without a ring, Don Coryell, head coach. Here's a guy who changed football forever, and he never even made it to a Super Bowl. Don Coryell invented Air Coryell, and if you do not know what that means, well, just know that every single modern passing offense that you love traces back to this man. His San Diego Chargers led the NFL in passing yards for 6 straight seasons from 1978 to 1983. That is still an NFL record. His coaching tree? John Madden, Joe Gibbs, Mike Martz, Norv Turner. Guys who went on to win championships running versions of what Coryell created. But Coryell himself, well, 2 AFC championship losses. One to the Raiders in 1980 and one to the Bengals in 1981. He never got over the hump. But here's what really gets me. Coryell did not get into the Hall of Fame until 2023, 13 years after he passed away. The godfather of modern offense had to wait over a decade post-mortem for recognition. Look, better late than never, I guess, but it would have been very nice for him to have been there for it. Worst with a ring, Gary Kubiak, head coach, Denver Broncos. Speaking of being in the right place at the right time, Gary Kubiak spent 8 years with the Houston Texans, where they were extraordinarily mediocre. Then he goes to Denver and wins a Super Bowl in his first season. So, what the heck happened? Did Kubiak suddenly become a genius? Well, not exactly. Kubiak walked into a situation with one of the best defenses in the NFL. Von Miller, Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., Wade Phillips had that unit playing at an elite level. Kubiak's career record is barely above 500, 82-75. He resigned after the 2016 season, citing health concerns. Look, the ring is very real, but the context, well, he was carried by a defense that he had absolutely nothing to do with. Best without a ring, George Allen, head coach. George Allen has the highest winning percentage of any coach without a Super Bowl championship. In fact, that mark is the third highest in NFL history, behind only Vince Lombardi and John Madden. And he never had a losing season. Not once. 12 seasons in the NFL between the Rams and the Redskins, and every single year his team finished above 500. 7 division titles. 2-time Coach of the Year. The man flat out won football games. So what happened? Well, he only made it to one Super Bowl. Super Bowl 7 against the 1972 Dolphins. And look, that Dolphins team went undefeated. 17-0, only perfect team in NFL history. Losing to them 14-7? Absolutely no shame in that. His system worked in the regular season year after year, and it was able to get him to a Super Bowl, but it was never sustainable enough to get him and his squad over the hump. Worst with a ring, Jon Gruden, head coach, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here it is, the most ridiculous one for last. Jon Gruden did not join the Buccaneers. No, he was traded to the Buccaneers. Tampa gave up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and $8 million in cash to get him from Oakland. And what did Gruden do? Walked into a team that Tony Dungy had spent 6 years building, and he won the Super Bowl by beating his former team. The Gruden Bowl. Super Bowl 37. Buccaneers 48, Raiders 21. And here's the thing that everyone just kind of forgets. Gruden knew all of Oakland's plays, all their signals, all their audibles. He had literally just left that team. He had the ultimate inside information. Not to mention that he did it as the youngest coach to win a Super Bowl at 39 years old until Sean McVay came along. At the time, it felt like Gruden was primed to be anointed as one of the best coaches to ever do it. But as it turns out, he might have just been in the right place at the right time. So, what happened after? In 6 years post-Super Bowl with Tampa, Gruden made the playoffs exactly once. Never won another playoff game. The team Dungy built aged out, and Gruden just couldn't adjust. When he came back to the Raiders in 2018 on a $100 million contract, 22-31 record before resigning amid scandals in 2021. When all is said and done, his career record was 117-112, just barely over 500. Not exactly pretty. Yes, Gruden has a Super Bowl ring, but he did not build that team. And he had the good fortune of going up against his former staff, who stunningly neglected to change up their signs and verbiage at all. Yeah, it's no wonder that his career numbers look more like a guy who got lucky once, more than a guy who figured out how to win. But hey, which coach do you think was the most deserving of a Lombardi trophy? Who was just plain old lucky? Who do you think we got right here? Who do you think we got wrong? Was there anyone notable that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.